What's up, Bacon Bits? Welcome back to another episode of Amazing Bacon Games. Today we're going to be looking at one of the most anticipated RPGs of recent memory, Elden Ring. Now we're going to take a look at where it's coming from, what we know, and things that we don't quite know yet. So stay tuned and we're going to get right into it. Let's just take a look at what we know about where Elden Ring is coming from. Alright guys, just to get started, Elden Ring is a single-player action RPG game brought to you by Bandai Namco and From Software. This game was created by Hidetaka Miyazaki and George R.R. Martin. To just go over their credentials a little bit, Hidetaka created the whole game story behind not only Elden Ring, but a lot of the Dark Souls games all the way back to Demon Souls in 2009. He has worked with From Software since 2004 when he came on to work for their Armored Core series. Some of the other games that he's worked on include Bloodborne and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. So you know, whenever Miyazaki is on the case, you're going to get an excellent story that's well written, well crafted, and above just about anything else out there. When it comes to stories, a lot of you guys have heard of George R.R. Martin, even if the name doesn't even sound familiar to you. And the reason why is he created a series of books called A Song of Ice and Fire. That may not sound that familiar to some of you guys who aren't big on reading, but for those of you guys that are big on TV shows, you may know the name better as a little show called Game of Thrones. George R.R. Martin created that whole series. He created the lore for this game as well. So when you have two people like Hidetaka Miyazaki and George R.R. Martin both working hand in hand, you can guarantee this is going to be a deep game, richly full of lore, story, and intertwining events that's probably just about as great as anything that we've seen recently. If all of that sounds pretty good to you, just think, we're just now getting started. So now, let's jump into the universe that this comes from and where it all plugs in. Elden Ring takes place in the same universe as the other games in the Soul series. This is the first open-world RPG of the universe, and so you can expect that it's going to be a lot more expansive and a lot more all-encompassing than what the other games have been, because they've been more of a linear path, whereas this offers you a lot more freedom to do things that you want to do. From Software has gone on record as saying that this game is going to be easier than their Dark Souls games, but for those of you guys that have played the Dark Souls games, you know that they're definitely not easy. So you can guarantee that this is going to be a much more difficult, much grittier feel to an RPG than what we're used to. Another thing that From Software has talked about whenever talking about this game is the fact that there's going to be a lot more dungeon-like ruins instead of the open cities and worlds that you would usually see in a Dark Souls game. How that's going to plug into the lore and the story of this game, we're not 100% sure yet. But that is one thing that we do know to be certain, that the setting itself is going to change even if it's within the same universe. On that note of being an open world RPG, that's going to be vastly different from what we've seen in the other Souls games, so you can guarantee there's probably going to be a lot more of a puzzle solving element, a lot more of the RPG rich feeling that you would generally get out of an open world game that From Software and Bandai Namco haven't previously been able to explore. So that's something to look forward to whenever we're playing this game, and something to look forward to finding more information out of as we get closer to Elden Ring's release. Admittedly, we don't know much about the gameplay features of what Elden Ring is going to be capable of. They've been pretty tight-lipped on that other than just the couple of trailers and sneak peeks that we've seen. But through interviews and a lot of research, what we have found so far is that you are going to be able to have a customizable character. Not just in appearance, but as Hidetaka Miyazaki says, there's no fixed main character in Elden Ring. We mostly leave it up to the player to decide the characteristics and personality of the character they create. So you can guarantee there's going to be a large scope of possibilities that you can do. If they're touting and advertising the fact that things can basically go any way that you want them to go based upon your decisions and your choices for the character, you can almost guarantee that there's a lot of possibilities here that's going to be a lot different than Dark Souls, where a lot of that choice was limited and based upon the character that you were chosen for at the beginning of the game. That's another thing that you could really look forward to in this game. Another thing that we know about the gameplay is that there's going to be multiple kingdoms within this game, they have exclusive new bosses and new enemies that you're going to be able to play through. Whether you have to play through those in more of a linear fashion, I'm going to guess against, because this is, again, an open world game. And that's one thing that they've really been pushing, is the fact that it's going to be open, full of choices and decisions. And I think that this is one of the ways that they're really going to press that. You're probably going to be able to approach these kingdoms almost like what Zelda Breath of the Wild would be, where you can take them in any order that you want, and you're going to experience a different gameplay every time based upon how you do that. Another piece of evidence that shows us that this is going to be vastly different than anything that the Souls series has put before us before is the fact that you're going to have 8 different social classes to be able to choose from. So from the get-go, it's already pushing out to you. You have a lot of freedom and a lot of choice and a lot of ability to be the player and be the character that you want to be. And I think that that's something that a lot of even hardcore fans of the Souls series have kind of complained about in recent years, is the fact that they want more freedom. And with being able to choose from 8 different classes and then choose perks within each one of those classes, the possibilities are almost limitless. And that's something that I think a lot of people can really sink their teeth into. Now, for the story of Elden Ring. There's not a whole lot to go off of. This has been a lot of research going into this, and basically what I've been able to find out is the fact that it's going to be a very widespread campaign. From Software saying has a theme of will and ambition of man. Now, whether that's the ambition of man in order to overcome a darkness, or whether that's the ambition to build your own kingdom and start from nothing, we don't 100% know yet. But we do know that you're able to gain power through those boss battles and all those different kingdoms that I was talking about. So there's got to be some sort of build up from not having much to having everything. Now, whether that's fighting against a greater power or whether that's taking over for yourself, that's still yet to be seen. But we can already tell this is going to be a very extensive game with a lot of story and a lot of lore, not only because of George R.R. Martin, but because of the style of game that Dark Souls has been in the past. On top of being an open world RPG, I think this story is going to be very rich, and it's going to develop over the course of time as we play through in the style that we play through with. And I think that that's something that's really interesting. Be careful as you look over the internet and you try to find things about Elden Ring, because there's a lot of fan-made lore that's going around where people are kind of creating stories and ideas of what it could be or what it may be and things like that. So be careful and make sure that you're not falling into that trap, because even when researching for this video, we found that there was a lot of information that was just wishful thinking. Everything that I've included into this video is things that I know to be facts from the developers themselves. But if you guys have any ideas of what you would like to see happen, make sure to include that down below, and hopefully we have some answers for that. And if you've discovered something that I haven't found in my research, I would love to add that in a future video, and I'll give you credit for bringing it to my attention, because this is a game I'm really interested in, and I haven't had a chance to find out a whole lot, no matter how much research I've done. So I appreciate any input that you guys have. Now, onto the final subject of this whole video, is things that we don't know yet about Elden Ring. We don't know a specific release date. We know originally they were shooting for a June time frame, but then there was talk that that may get held off until fall. Right now we're still hoping for a 2020 release, but it's not 100% sure that we're going to be able to get there. That's the planned date right now, but I guess that we'll see. Since coming out in E3 in 2019, they've been pretty steadfast on when they want this game to come out. We haven't really heard anything about any delays or anything like that, so hopefully we're still pretty close to that fall time frame that they were originally shooting for. We don't know a whole lot about the story specifics. We do know that it's going to have a lot of those RPG elements, and so you can assume it's probably going to be something similar to like some of the more mega RPGs out there. You may have aspects from some of the Final Fantasy games, some of the Elder Scrolls games and things like that. Not necessarily an exact story, but some of the general RPG type stories that you see, those may be incorporated quite a bit. We don't know the types of missions. It may be fetching, it may be different types of quests, it may be assassinations. We don't really know that either. As I said, From Software has been pretty tight-lipped about this, but everything that they've released and everything that they've said has kind of lent to the idea that there's going to be a lot of different types of missions to keep you from getting bored and to keep you focused on the wide scope of what they've got going on. Another thing that we're not real sure about, and I wasn't even sure that I really wanted to include in this video, is the possibility of a female lead character for the first time in the Souls series. with character customization that they've talked about, they haven't specified if that's gender specific or if it's going to be another male character. I was leery about adding that into this video because I didn't want to put words into the developer's mouth, so that's why I put it in this section. I would assume by how much that they're talking about being full of choice and it being your decision on how your character moves forward, that there's probably going to be some sort of a female aspect to it, or at least a possibility. But since we don't know, I put it in this section because we don't know for sure. As of right now, there's no plans for multiplayer. That's one thing that a lot of Dark Souls players in the past have brought up, is they wanted to be able to play with friends. As of right now, there's no plans. We don't know if that's going to change in the future. They haven't released any information. Right now, it's just being branded as a single-player, action-based RPG. So as of right now, that's a no, but hopefully that's something that we may find out more information on in the future. The last little thing I'm going to put under this things we just don't know yet is something that, since they've been saying that this is going to be taking place in the same universe as the Souls series, we can assume that there's going to be similar enemies or same enemy types in this game as the other Souls games, but we don't know for sure. There hasn't been a whole lot given away in the trailers as far as what enemies we're going to be facing, so that's still up in the air. I would assume that based on being in the same universe, we're going to see the same ones, but we don't know if in that same universe we're in the same time frame or not. That's something to kind of keep your eye out on and see exactly which bosses and which enemies make the cut and which ones don't. That's all I've got for you guys for today, and as you guys can see, there is a lot of information to take in and a lot of things that are possible going into this game that I think is going to make it probably one of the best RPGs that we're going to see for a while, at least until Elder Scrolls 6 comes up, and with as much time as they're putting into the lore, this may even surpass that. We just don't know yet. There's not enough known about this game. From the way it looks like it's going to be a really amazing game that we're going to be able to sink our teeth into, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I want to know what you guys are looking forward to the most out of this game. Let me know down below. Let me know what you think would make it for the best game that you've played recently. What's missing that you haven't heard about? Let me know down below. Anyways, hopefully this fall, we've got Elden Ring coming out on Microsoft Windows, PS4, and Xbox One, so make sure to stick with this channel, like and subscribe to anything that we find out in the future. You're going to find out here in future videos about Elden Ring. Now that all that's over with, I just want to take a quick second to say that I appreciate you guys, and I know that I've only been putting out videos once a week, and it's not as often as I had been, but life gets busy sometimes. And on that note, I want to make sure that you guys know that sometimes life gets busy, but you still have to take time to appreciate those people that do things for you and are there for you and help you out, because our lives wouldn't be the same without support. That's something I've really recognized recently, and I just wanted to say thank you to those of you guys who have been there for me and supported me throughout this whole YouTube journey. I really do appreciate it. You have no idea how much you can change somebody's day just by being there. So as you walk down the street, make sure that you're smiling at people, saying hello, being polite, and sometimes just being there, because you have no idea how much of an impact that makes on somebody's life. Be the reason somebody smiles today. And until next time, I'm the Amazing Bacon. I'll talk to you guys.